Zack Bolduc was 8th overall in votes for Rookie of the Year.
Hey, this is Brandon Chen. Subscribe to Lock On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here in the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, we're going to talk about the Rookie of the Year voting, also the Stanley Cup Finals. In yesterday's episode of Locked On Blues, we talked about the one and the only TJ Oshie on his retirement. And while I can say that as a Blues fan who watched him play for many years, I am really upset about his retirement just because I love watching him play. But I completely understand the reasoning as to why. So if you didn't see yesterday's episode, I really highly recommend that you check it out. Even if you're a Capitals fan or just a hockey fan in general, I highlight all of his career's accomplishments and more. So again, that is on my channel here at Locked On Blues. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. So I'm going to pull up a little graphic. I made some graphics now for this podcast in the off season just because I found it to be a nice visual for all of you. I do this for you watching here in Locked On Blues. So we have the 2024-2025 Calder Trophy voting. Now, again, there is no doubt about it. When it comes to number one, being Lane Hutson of the Montreal Canadiens, who received the most votes. And I have to say that this was not a shock to me at all. I kind of figured that this would be the outcome, and it's well-deserved. He had an incredible season, and he really helped the Canadiens in so many ways. So again, you have to give credit to where credit is due, and Lane Hutson did a great job. Receiving the second most votes was Dustin Wolf, goalie of the Calgary Flames. Now, it's interesting about Dustin, right? Because when it was the end of the season and the Flames could have caught up to the Blues, I said numerous times how outstanding Wolf has been in net. So we did see a lot of Dustin Wolf as Blues fans because we were kind of keeping our eyes on the Flames. However, again, I still wouldn't change the ranking because obviously Lane Hutson just was insane. Followed by third in votes was Malcolm Celebrini. Now, Celebrini is such an interesting case because he had a good season. It's not like it was this exceptional season, but he had a really good season. And it's hard for me to even say that he should be above Wolf or Hudson just because they were a level higher, right? But, I mean, you get drafted first overall. I spoke to him in Las Vegas at the draft, and he had a great season, so good for him. Receiving the fourth most votes is Philadelphia Flyer Matvei Michkov. And Matvei Michkov, I did speak to him. I cover the Flyers too. You all know that. I did ask him about, how his rookie season went. He scored the most goals out of all the rookies. And he said that he was disappointed in himself, that he expected himself to do more and that he wants to be better for next season. And this is a player who was dealt on a really bad hockey team. And he still found a way to shine. And again, he holds himself to such a standard, such a high standard, that I'm not surprised that he ranked fourth in votes just because of the team that he was dealt with. However, again, I would not change these rankings. Fifth is Cutter Gauthier. Oh man, this is an interesting one just because of what I do with Philadelphia. I know a little bit about Cutter and the whole situation. So I'm not really a huge fan of him off the ice. On the ice, I can say, though, he did have a nice season. So he does deserve to be here in that spot. We have Will Smith, 6th most votes. I like Will Smith. This was a player that I really wanted the Blues to somehow get. They didn't get him, but I thought that Will Smith, again, good season. Not as impressive as Celebrini, obviously, than both on San Jose. You have more attention drawn to Celebrini, but again, Will Smith, I wanted him for the Blues, so enough is enough. 7th is Logan Stankoven, Carolina. This is where we get to a little bit I would like to call it of a gray area, where you could make the argument that he doesn't deserve to get the 7th most votes. However, with the next batch of players, they all kind of blend a little bit, in my opinion. At 8th, and this is who we're going to talk about, it is our guy, Zack Bolduc. And I think this is a huge honor for Zack Bolduc. You see, his 20 points came from 1 4th place vote and 17 5th place votes. And being in the top 10, it does show what he was able to accomplish his rookie season. And I think that a lot of these rookies, and I say it's a gray area because you can make the argument that Zack Bolduc deserves to be lower, maybe I wouldn't say higher other than 7th, but again, there was a lot of great rookie talents this season. So this is really strong. I mean, he didn't have, I would say, in my opinion, the strongest start to the season. However, this is something where in the future, you could look at Zack Bolduc and say, you know what? He was with them, and I'm talking about the guys that ranked above him, who were obviously going to have really extensive, good NHL careers. And this is a really good sign for Zack Bolduc. I mean, Doug Armstrong had a lot of good things to say about him before the season began. And he had a lot of expectations for Zack. And he said that he could see him being like a top 6 forward, I believe. That was Doug's words. So for him to have the season that he had, I'm going to go over it. He played 72 games, 19 goals, 17 assists, 36 points. Penalty minutes, he had 37, which again, but on one game basis, he averaged about half a point per game. So again, good on that one. And then we look at the playoffs. He played in all 7 games, no goals, 1 assist. So that only gave him 1 point. And he did have 16 penalty minutes. Not a fan of that. However, again, he had a good rookie season. Will I say it's a great rookie season? No. I think that there's only certain players that you can look at and you will say had a great rookie season. And for me personally, right, and I know that he won, and I know that maybe he's like the anomaly, right? He's the exception. He's the standout. But when you look at Lane Hutson, right, he just was phenomenal this season. I mean, he only had 6 goals, but then he had 60 assists, right? So 66 points. That is insane for a defenseman, too. Again, it just blows my mind. And only 10 NHL rookie defensemen ever reached 60 points. He also played an average ice time of about almost 23 minutes per game. He ranked 3rd in the NHL with 56 takeaways, okay? And for me personally, I can't even process that. How dominant you have to be. I mean, he was the first rookie defenseman in team history for the Canadiens with an 8-game point streak. That is insane to me, at least. He was named Rookie of the Month in December and March. Again, no surprise on that one. And it was historic. I mean, not only did he break franchise records, but he also, had NHL benchmarks, right? I mean, winning the Calder Trophy It's such an honor, and it's so refreshing to see some of these young players take the game the way that they have been by stride. I obviously talked about TJ Oshie retiring yesterday, right? He was a player that I grew up with, that I watched, and for me did phenomenal things. Like I think about the Olympics, right? The 2014 Olympics and what he was able to do. I think we all can kind of, think about a couple players that we've seen do exceptional things as of this past season, like Alexander Ovechkin beating the Great Ones record. And you can't help but think, when are we going to ever see somebody break a record like that again, or do these phenomenal things on the ice, right? You have a sheet of ice, what can you do on it? So when I do see players like Elaine Hudson, who again put up 60 assists as a defenseman, like, just I can't even process that insanity. It makes me really excited about the future of the game. And I know that defense is something that the Blues have struggled in, but it just goes to show that there are really good young defensemen out there that are coming into this league. And this is why hockey, it's such an exciting game, because the game is always evolving. And it's going to continue to evolve. But I want to talk to you more about about this topic, right? Because this is an interesting topic. But first, I want to talk to you about some of my friends. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed, it's all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed Sponsored Jobs puts your post at the top of the page to help you reach the right candidates faster. I've been in a spot where I need to hire somebody like yesterday, and the pressure is on, and every day without the right person, it's just a setback. And that's exactly when Indeed Sponsored Jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now you can speed your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/locked on right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed, it's all you need. Let's go back to my little fun graphic of Zack, Bolduc, and the rookies. So for me personally, I'm talking about rookies and talent that come into the league. And I talked about what Doug Armstrong said about Bolduc and how he could see him being a top six not top six forward. I'm so focused on defenseman right now. In March, Zack posted 11 points with 6 goals and 3 assists in 15 games. And it was his most productive stretch. And this was kind of the point that I had earlier in the episode about how the second half of the season was a lot more productive for Zack Bolduc. And again, we can argue back and forth about, the rankings and where he deserved to be. But for me personally, I feel as if he did develop a good amount. I mean, he ranks 3rd on the team in assists per 60 minutes, 9th in points per 60, which is really good considering the offensive talent on the Blues, right? Maybe you could see him doing a little bit more, but it is what it is. He had a 51% of his time in the offensive zone. So again, not too bad. I mean, you want to see more of it, but it can only really go up, right? So here's the thing. The Blues went 15-2-2 after the Four Nations face-off. And again, that's when Zack Bolduc had his best stretch of hockey. So for me personally, I am just impressed with the team overall, but mostly his own growth, because remember, he went back and played with the Thunderbirds for a little bit, for the Blues' AHL team. And while everybody else was on break, he was in the rink grinding. And I think that just goes to show the mentality that he has, right? He has a really great shot. And I think this even takes you back to his QMJHL days, right? And that was something that, when I don't know if I was doing the podcast then when we drafted him. No, we weren't. Well, I was still a fan. I remember that was something that I always heard all the insiders say was that he had a really powerful shot. So again, I think that we saw him bring more of that to the season this year. But besides looking at the Blues, I think it's also important to talk about maybe how you're ranked in other things, right? So here's the thing. He didn't finish top 3 overall in points, which was led by Hudson, Michkov, and Celebrini. But his 19 goals still put him within the top 10. And I think that for Bolduc, if he had a better first half of the season, then maybe he would have been there. But again, that's why those guys, and obviously Dustin Wolf can't score goals. I mean, he could, like, the goalie goals happen. But when you just have that many talented players, you can't be surprised that he's not ranking within like the top 5, right? When it comes to fantasynhl.com, he ranked 6th amongst rookies, which is why you saw 17 votes for him to get 5th place in the Rookie of the Year, just because he really did step up his game in the second half. In rookie points, he was 7th. Plus minus, he was 1st amongst rookies, with plus 20 and then plus 22. And then with shooting and goals, he was top 3 to 5 with 19 goals. So again, it was really good for him to do that. And while he isn't the points leader, you have to, again, look at the plus minus rating, goal scoring, possession metrics, which made him a really impactful player on his first his rookie year. I mean, I know he debuted before. I'm just saying, like, this year is his rookie season, right? So for me, I just take this away as a lot of good things. And also, when you look at, this rookie class, you have to give them credit to where credit is due. It was a very difficult rookie class to come on top of. Also, when it comes to power play goals, he had 7. So again, that to me just kind of shows the efficiency that he had, while maybe he could have done more in terms of the power play. I'm also not going to be mad at him for 7. I feel like 7 is fine, and that's what it is. All right, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk to you about the Stanley Cup Finals, but again, really fast. Look at me switching graphics. Again, promo to check out yesterday's episode of Locked On Blues, because I talked everything about TJ Oshie. We broke down all the statistics, a lot of quotes that he said, and just standout moments. So again, just check that out. All right, going back to today's episode, we have a lot going on today. Do you like these graphics, by the way? I feel like they're just like better to look at than me. I'm going to talk to you about my friends over at Gametime before we talk about the finals, if I can find my Gametime. There's nothing like playoff hockey. The energy, the rivals, and the nonstop action. With the Stanley Cup playoffs heating up, there's never been a better time to see it live, and Gametime makes getting in the building fast and affordable. Gametime gives you last-minute ticket deals, zone deals for deep discounts, panoramic seat views, and all-in pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ticket prices often drop the closer you get to puck drop, so you can score big without overpaying. I love Gametime because I can save huge with my zone deals. They pick the best seats for me with the lowest price. Last minute tickets, they're big for me when I go to baseball games. This is what I do because I can save up to 60%, which is an insane amount to save when going to a sporting event. And because I'm short, only 5'2", I know, I like to see where I'm sitting, and that's where the seat view comes into play. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. The Stanley Cup Finals, or as I would like to call it, the Stanley Cup I Told You So. Now, I know it's only been 3 games. Oh, hell, there's still so much hockey left. I don't want to hear it because I said Cats in 4, 5, 6, or 7. I know. Okay, let's go back. What happened to the Oilers? And why am I bringing this up? Because I know how the narrative is going to go. We were fine without Holloway and Broberg. I know that's what the narrative will be if they win. So therefore, I'm rooting for the Panthers. Like, that is my reasoning. And you might think it's stupid. Well, we have a hometown guy on the Panthers and Matthew Tkachuk. Matty Tkachuk, Chuck E. Cheese. I know Kapanen is on the Oilers, but, like, do we really care? Not really. Corey Perry, obviously, like, just because it's Corey Perry, I'm always like, there's a little bit of an interest. But last night's game, I mean, Brad Marchand, right? Woo! I mean, we made him cry, and he's doing the complete opposite with this Panthers team, with just how well he is doing. I mean, it is insane. Panthers, they just dominated. I mean, Marchand scored in 3 straight games, which is insane. Like, actually insane. 7 goals, 2-1, a 2-1 advantage now for the Cats. And it just looked just night, day, and night. I mean, Bobrovsky stopped 32 goals in game 3. Like, it was just one of those games where there was a lot of dominance going on. Like, if you think about the first game, right? They go to OT, whatever. Edmonton wins. I know Leon Draisaitl. Okay. Game 2, you go to double OT. Brad Marchand. Then you go to game 3, and boom, like, just physicality, intensity. Bobrovsky. It was a 6-1 win, I meant to say, not 7. Yeah. And here's the thing, it just seems like the Cats are just back in the driver's seat, essentially. I mean, there was no showing up from McDavid or any of those guys. And I feel for the Canadian fans because I know that they probably won a cup, right? However, when the Panthers get 3 goals within 6 minutes and 19 seconds in the second period, yeah. There's really not much of a comeback from that one. I mean, Sam Bennett, we can talk about Sam Bennett and his high, impact goal. I mean, Sam Bennett's a guy that I'm interested in for the Blues, right? There was a bit of a turning point, like 138 penalty minutes. Yeah. By guess who? Yeah, if you guessed Darnell Nurse. Woo, shocker, yeah. So no surprise on that one. And it's funny, like, Tkachuk was physical, but, like, the physicality didn't really just come from Matty. It came from, like, everybody. So kind of a crazy game. A lot that happened. But you know what? The Blues would have made it more entertaining than whatever Edmonton's doing because they're imploding, and I actually love to see it. Like, am I a hater? Absolutely. All right, I will talk to you tomorrow. And like always, let's go Blues.